Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again, and welcome back to another episode of the Dreamweavers podcast. Today, we have the amazing Minty Mae with us. Hello, Minty.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, not as cold as you.
It's a little chilly, but I've got a lovely little campfire going, so that's keeping me a little bit warm. So it's all good. I've literally just thrown my last log onto the fire, so that will
Uh-oh,
keep
what
us warm
happens
for a
when the
while.
log, I was going to say, what happens when that
It'll
log
be
burns out?
fine. That'll be fine. It will last for a couple of hours at least.
Okay, and then you'll be inside where you can stay warm.
Definitely.
So you
Totally.
mentioned that you were in the UK. Where are you again?
So I'm in a county called Worcestershire, and I'm just outside of my hometown of Evesham, and
Evesham.
we're camping as we speak.
Fabulous,
We are
fabulous.
out camping.
Well, what I can see behind you is absolutely gorgeous.
There's just a little bit more of what's behind me.
Oh my gosh. Yes, thank
It is
you.
beautiful, clear
Look at the
skies tonight.
moon. Yes, it
Yeah, the
is.
moon is stunning tonight. And we got these
Oh,
beautiful clear skies going on, and there'll be a bit of a sunset coming in
look at
about the next
that. I'm
half
over
an
here
hour.
leaning my head trying to look around.
So sorry.
That's okay.
It
No,
probably
no, no. It's
makes people feel a little bit seasick.
nah. It was slow enough. I think it's okay. So, are you camping by yourself?
No, I am traveling with a very, very good friend of mine.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
yeah, she's come over with us from funny enough, your neck of the woods, from the States, and we're traveling around the UK together.
Cool. Well, let's talk. I do definitely want to hear about your travels, but let's talk about
Mm.
what is it that you actually do, though?
Well,
What kind of spiritual energy, all the things. Yeah, I know. It's
see,
always a fun question.
I've always got this great comedy answer that I always like to give, going, well, I'm either a schizophrenic, because I've got voices in the head, or I'm not too bad at guessing, or you can call me a psychic medium. I always like to add humor into what I do. I would say that you would say I was, well, I am. I am a psychic medium, and that's what I do. I connect people with loved ones that have passed, but I also see people's past, present, and future. And I use various different tools as well as just channeling spirit at the same time as well.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Psychic medium, that makes a lot of sense. So, and
Mhm.
you had stated earlier before we started recording that you were over here in the States.
I was. I did in total 6 months. I came out about this time last year, actually. Sorry, bear with me.
Yeah, take your time.
This time last year, I'd decided there have been quite a few changes in my life, and I was literally living in a shared house at this point, and I had decided that I needed to go traveling. So I said to my friend, I said, "How would you like to see me later this year?" She was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." So I decided that I was going to work my socks off for the next 3 months. And by October the 9th, I'd given up where I was living, where I was working from, sold most of my possessions, and literally I lived out of a backpack. I got myself a big backpack and I came over on a tourist visa over to your country and I did a 90-day tour of traveling around the US by train and bus the whole
How
way.
exciting. So, like us, we always want to go backpacking through England. You actually came
Mhm.
backpacking through the States, huh?
I did indeed, and
How amazing.
it was an amazing experience. I met some beautiful, wonderful people.
We
Um,
got a few.
People that were strangers, but I now class as friends, which has been amazing.
Mm.
Um, the kindness and generosity of the different people that we met. Some I might have only met for like half an hour, but those moments will stay with me forever. And some of them we've become really good friends. So no,
So
and I kind of went all over.
where did you start out?
I actually flew into JFK in New York,
Okay.
and then there's a mutual friend who I actually, funnily enough, did his podcast earlier last year, and or around this time. because I happened to be talking about that I was coming over to the States. And he goes, I've got a spare room. I went, you what? He went, seriously, I've got a spare room. I said, where do you live? He said, where are you flying into? I said, JFK, New York. He goes, yeah, come and stay with me for a couple of nights. So where do you live? He said, Long Island. So I ended up doing the first 5 nights at Long Island. This is with a guy called Michael Zinn. I don't know if you know of him, but he's an amazing guy. He's another one. That he's a beautiful soul, and he does some amazing podcasts. So I ended up spending 5 nights with him. And then I stayed a couple of nights actually in New York. I ended up getting a place in Brooklyn for a couple of nights, Airbnb in there. And then I made my way up to Massachusetts. I went to Salem, Boston, Worcester, all the way back down to Pennsylvania. I went to Harrisburg to catch up with another friend of mine there called Lara Starr. So I spent
Yes.
3 nights, very kindly, she put me up for 3 nights on my little trip that I was doing. And then from there, I made my way all the way over to Missouri at Lake of the Ozarks, where I caught up with a very good friend of mine, Raven Adams, and stayed a large part of my time there. But I went over to Indiana as well, a little town called Bloomington, where I got a couple of friends of mine there as well. And I did a week there. Then I came back to the Lake of the Ozarks. We went to KC, Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the way back, I think it was something like a 18 or 20-hour train ride from St. Louis all the way back to New York City with a 7-hour stopover in Chicago.
Wow. So you saw a lot of the East Coast.
I saw a lot
Yeah.
of the East Coast and then started hitting kind of Central as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was never really a plan as such. I kind of lived my life by not really having a plan. And it was like I
Heart
got
and
to,
intuition led. I understand.
Salem had to be done because of my grandmother. So she would have, well, she definitely would have kicked me if I didn't go there. And of course, as soon as I got up to, I realized I was like, I'm literally 2, 3 days before I'd go to a location or go to a place. I'm literally there, Airbnb and Googling what's around. And as soon as I saw that there was a town called Worcester, because I've actually got a city called Worcester, which is about 20 miles away from where I am right now. I was like, well, I've got to go there. I've
Of
got to go and see
course.
that.
Of
So
course.
I ended up getting an Airbnb in Worcester and then realizing, oh, actually, I can get the train from there to Boston, and then from Boston I can get to Salem. So
Wow. How
yeah,
amazing. Man, and you were here last, or you were up in the New England and that New York area last year?
yeah, that was last year. That was sort of roundabout. That was early October, right the way through till around about. I think it's a week before Halloween. Is when I actually kind of was around that area.
I was going to say we just missed each other because I was in Albany, New York, and
Oh
I
wow!
I was there for 2 years and I didn't
Oh no
leave
way!
until November. So it's a shame we didn't know each other then. We could have totally connected, but that's okay. Our paths were doing what they were doing, and here we are now. So how cool is
Exactly.
that? Oh,
It was really cool.
so what is, and now you're back over
Hmm.
in the UK and you're back in your
Yeah.
neck of the woods and you're still
Hmm.
camping and traveling. So tell me,
Yeah.
what is all this traveling for?
Um, it should have been something I probably should have done a lot more of back when I was in my late teens, and I didn't. I didn't. And it was one of those where it's something that I've always wanted to do. And I mean, I don't get me wrong, I've traveled up and down the UK a lot. I've done a lot of different places and locations in the UK. I'm very much a firm believer in you should see your own country. And lots of opportunities. I would just go away for weekends or weeks away and just hop
Hmm.
on a train and see where I end up. Um, but there's a lot more of the world to see. And it was one of those. I mean, I'm 46 now. So
Okay.
I was at that point where it's like I've got no children, I've got no dependents. I was by myself, and I was literally like, here's an opportunity I can't refuse. I had managed to save up a little bit, and I was like, you know what? This is something I had a calling. It was like a
Mhm.
calling and a feeling of needing to do this. And it was one of those that if I didn't do it, I'd regret it. And something I've always said, it's kind of weird because even now, it's like I don't have a permanent location, so to speak. And that's quite freeing. That's actually really quite nice. I don't have stuff. Well, I have got some stuff. The problem I'm finding at the moment is I like my crystals, and it's like trying to. I've got a friend of mine that's taking care of a lot of my crystals and tarot decks, but it's also as I've been going around, it's like, well, I like that one, and then I like that one, and I'm like, why is my bag weighing a ton?
I might understand that a lot. Trust me when I tell you I really do.
But yeah, it's kind of like a discovery. I think there's a lot of the world to see. There's a lot of places I haven't been to, and I'm very fortunate and consider myself lucky to be in a position where it's like, let's do this
Mm.
and see where it takes us.
That's so interesting because I resonate with that a lot because that's actually what I'm doing is
Oh,
I am
fantastic.
traveling and I go where my heart tells me to go and I'm just literally just like you, intuition, heart led.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I land in places where I need to land for however long, and here soon, very soon I'll be out of the country, and
Hmm.
yeah.
That's so
My
cool.
mine is because I've come to realize that all my travels for me
Hmm.
is looking for that place that I feel home. You know that
Yep.
feeling? And
Yep.
we
I know
know
what
it
you're on
when
about.
we feel it, that just, feels like home and that's where I want to be. And then I'm going to, set up and, I want to create an entire community sustainable system. So yeah.
I think that's amazing. And funny enough, it really brings me back to a video that I posted earlier this year. Funny enough, talking about where's home.
Oh, yeah, tell me more.
And it was one of those where just because you've grown up somewhere and just because you know an area doesn't always necessarily make it home. And this was in between me being in the States. So I had to come back in January because my
Hmm.
Esther
Your
was
visa.
like, the visa was like, no, you've been here long enough, clear off. I'm like, okay, fine. And it was in the 6 weeks period before I came back out. And I was really like having this kind of feeling of, where is home? What is home to people? And everyone's like, home is where your heart is, home is where you are. And I'm thinking, I don't agree with that. I don't know where home is. I don't think I've ever found it. And something I can honestly say, categorically, truthfully say, is I've never felt home completely. The closest I would have ever said that would have been to my home was my grandmother's place, which I'll talk probably a bit more about later. Um, but for me, I get it when people say it's where your heart is, it's where you are, and home is inside you. And I get all of that. But sometimes people want that location, whereas I'm actually quite happy not to have that location. And something I was actually talking about recently as well. I can remember ever since the age of 5 or 6, being at school, and I mean, we're talking like 1984, 1985. And
Hmm.
there's all these other kids going, I want to be a bank manager, a police officer, astronaut, firefighter, whatever. And I'm thinking, I don't want to work. What's this all about?
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. And then they're like, oh, where do you want to live? And I'm like, I would happily live on the road in a
Mm.
caravan or a tent. And I can always remember from the age of 5, it was like, why do I want to stick in a job that I don't like for 40 odd years? And why do I have to have a house? I don't want a house. And and then of course, obviously, as you grow older, society kicks in, and you find work, and you do various different jobs, trying to find your place, and all the rest of it. And something I've really discovered, certainly in the last 12 months, probably 18 months, is this is my happiest, and it is doing what that little 5-year-old lad. in school saying, I'm going to live on the road. I'm going to live in a caravan. I'm being told by my teacher I'm a fantasist and a daydreamer. But you know what? Might not be a caravan, but I've got a tent.
That's what I'm saying is, I have a very good friend of mine. Interestingly enough, he's an older gentleman. He's in his 70s now, and
Mhm.
he still, to this day, does not believe in owning a house or owning
Mhm.
land.
Yeah,
He rents a
yeah,
house,
mhm.
but that's his thing. He just doesn't believe in it. And I think, and he's stuck to that all of his life. And I just think it's quite commendable to stick to your convictions and be that
Yeah.
um emphatic about it, right? Um, but yeah, I feel you. There's nothing like
Oh,
fully stepping into freedom in a different way, and everybody's sense of freedom shows up differently. Like
of
it
course it does.
what you and I are doing is probably not for everybody, and that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying, this is our way of stepping
Yeah.
into our freedom and letting everything
Mhm.
else go and being so spirit, intuition, heart led that it's like, yeah, trust me when I tell you, I feel you, Minty. I'm all in.
It's also scary at
I get
times
it.
as well when you're sort of looking at and going, where am I going to be sleeping next week? Or what am I going to be doing for food or accommodation or whatever? But you
Yeah.
find a way. You find a way.
Well, I've come to learn from me that it's all about trust.
Oh, massively.
If I
Massively. You've
just trust that
got
it'll
to
be there.
trust.
Yeah.
And
Which is
that
so
is
much easier said than done.
it's a real battle. And if you were talking to me a week ago, I was having real issues with like the anxiety and the insecurities were kicking in, and the human side kicked in for about 48 hours, and I'm having a flap, and then it's like, oh, I'm being stupid again, aren't I? And I've just got like spirit guides or my grandmother, and she's just like, you'll get there.
That is so interesting because I hit it last week myself. In fact, I was just talking about it. I also do a Facebook Live, but anyway, um, that's not the point. My point is that I was literally just talking about that because I went through the same thing. And as I look out into the ethers, I can see all the astrology lining up. I can see the energies of the sun, the conveyance and stuff like that. I mean, I can see it. It's just
Mhm.
I find it interesting how it affects each person. And
And it really does.
yeah, and a lot of times it's very similar. I find that it's not as different.
Mhm.
It's in similar ways, you know.
Yeah,
There might be subtle differences, of course, like the thoughts that come into our mind and stuff like that. But that overwhelming feeling, the anxiety, which you were mentioning, whoo, child, don't get me started, honey.
yeah,
Let me tell you, like seriously, whoo, child. Just the anxiety and then you're just like exactly what you said. Hey, knock it off. This is
exactly.
not how we do things, you know. Phone a friend.
Exactly,
This is
exactly.
what's going on. Help me get out of my own head, things like that. But yeah.
Mhm.
So, how do people so during your travels, are you
Mm.
offering, I mean, I know that this is your gift, this is your purpose and what you do.
Mhm.
Are people real
Yep,
receptive to that? How do you
yep.
engage with people that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I've got a beautiful support and clientele base.
Mm.
People can have online readings with me, which they were doing, that was helping. Um, People would find out and then have a reading with me in person. I mean, I've got a
That's
beautiful
what I was
story.
wondering.
I've got a beautiful story I've got to share with you. I've gone to Worcester for the very first time in Massachusetts. Literally got off the bus, haven't got a clue where I'm going. Dear Copper, where's the best place to get something to eat, mate? He said, there's a great little diner just down this road here. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to this diner, wonderful little meal there. Of course, by accident, it's sticking out like a sore thumb. And it was one of those small little, it's like, you call it a small town. I call it massive. I'm like looking around like I'm a hobbit on an adventure, like, out of Lord of the Rings or something, going, where the bloody hell have I come? you know,
I love
on this
this.
crazy little English guy that's just wandering around and getting lost. But anyway, they were lovely in this diner, and I happened to look out the window, and as you can probably tell, I normally got my head shaved at the sides, and I had dreads at the time, but that's a different story. Anyway, I see this barber shop just up the road, and I was like, I could do with a tidy up, like with my beard and that. So I've eaten my lunch, I've gone up the road, gone into the barber shop, and it's one of those it's like really edgy, it's really there's like graffiti on the wall, the guys have got
Ooh,
piercings, there's metal music and I'm like, oh, I've really found my like little circle here.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I go in, I was like, you ain't got a chance of doing us a head shave and that and whatnot. And of course all three of them just stopped. And they were like, whoa, say that again. And I'm like, what? Because of course my accent. And they're like, where are you from, dude? And I was explaining what I was doing. They're like, we can fit you in. We're going to fit
Okay.
you in. So they fit me in. And this one guy, he starts working on my head and that. And he goes, so where you're from and talking about my journey and what I'm doing. So what do you do for a living? And I told him, I said, well, I'm a psychic medium. I said, this is what I do. His brother, who owns the shop, was the other side. I went, wait, hang on a minute. He said, you do readings? I said, yeah. He said, I've been looking for someone to do me a reading. Would you do me a reading? I said, yeah, I've got my cards with me. He goes, I'll pay for your haircut and beard trim and make sure my brother gets paid if you can do me a reading. I was like, deal.
I
They've
love
now
this so much.
and they've now become really good friends. We're really good friends online, and we're supporting each other. You know, like if they've got events on, I'll share it, and if I've got events, I'll always comment and stuff. Lovely, lovely guys. And the
Oh, that's
guy
so
who
good.
owns the barber shop, he specializes in doing children who are autistic or ADHD, and he'll cut children's hair from like the age of like 2 or 3. But he's got the most amazing patience, and he's a real, true, beautiful soul.
Mm,
And between him and his brother, they run this amazing barber shop.
that is so, I love hearing that. I
Mm,
happen to have I have three granddaughters actually, and one of them actually does have autism. So that just, of course, speaks even more to my heart because it's, hits home, right?
yeah, totally.
Proverbially. And so, oh my God, I love this story. How cool is that?
I mean, it
So,
was just
so
like one
you
of those
did,
most
so you
random
did,
moments.
yeah, yeah, that's how it happens. Oh my gosh. You wouldn't believe the random thing. So I have a saying. Are you ready?
Go for it.
This is when we say you can't make this shit up.
Exactly. Totally. With you on
Because
that
it's
one.
so random, it's so kismet, and it just all falls into place, and you're like, "Is this really happening? I need somebody else to witness this because,
Exactly.
is this really happening?" So that's our new thing. It's you can't make this shit up. In
I
fact,
love it.
I eventually I will get on it. But I'm gonna get shirts made. I really am.
That is so cool. I love that.
I
I
really
love
am.
that.
I'm gonna get shirts made because that's the magic right there, friend.
And it really is. And it
That's the
was like I
magic
say, I walked into that barber shop talking to three strangers. I left leaving friends.
with
And was like I say,
friends.
we're still friends now. And it was like he was so excited. He was like, "Are you really serious? You're gonna do me the I was like, dude, I'll do you the reading." And he goes, I've got a YouTube channel. Can we film it and do it live? I was like, yeah, if you want to do it live. So
Of
I ended up
course.
doing it on his YouTube channel for him as well.
How amazing. How amazing. I love this story so much, Minty. Thank you. Oh my
No,
gosh.
that's cool. It's cool.
That is a, those are the stories I think, partially of what I live for, I tell you, because it just brings so much joy to my heart to hear that. And to,
Uh,
be able to conversate with somebody else who's out there, living a parallel life with mine, having all these amazing can't make this shit up moments. It's just so, so good to know. Aw. So what are some of your favorite things about what you do, other than these amazing moments and the magic?
my the most beautiful thing is when I can give someone hope, or when I can connect
Mm,
someone to a loved one who has passed, or I'll get people come to me when they really are sometimes, not all of them, but a lot of them, when they're at their darkest moments. And they'll have that reading with me, and then I'll hear a story two or three, or they'll get in contact with me 2 or 3 months later saying how much it's changed their life, how much it's helped, how much, yes, okay, the predictions that I may have given them has come true, or how it gave them strength, how it gave them that hope to actually fight and move forward. That's the beautiful bit. And it's also all the beautiful people that I have met over the many years of doing this on a day-to-day basis. Even though I might not remember their names or faces, but I still remember those special moments of those
Of course you
connections that
do.
I will never, they will always be treasures. That will
Of
always be
course.
treasured.
Of
And that's
course.
why I
Yeah.
do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That right there. That's why, excuse me.
Mm,
That's why I talk to people. I like to have the conversation about there's no such thing as true altruism
mm, mhm.
because it just feels so good to help others. And you
Exactly.
cannot not feel good.
No, you can't. And
And
it's a sharing of
it's
energy.
yeah,
And if you're making someone feel better, of course it's going to raise your vibration and make you feel better as
so
well.
much. So much. So where have you traveled so far over in your neck of the woods?
Over in my neck of the woods, we when we got back to the UK, we did a week in London. That was kind of
Okay.
crazy. Now, the weird thing is with me, I'm not a great fan of London. Sorry, guys, if you're from London, I'm not a great fan of it. It's too peoply, it's too crowded, and I'm really sorry to say, but they're all a bit miserable. Um,
Well, I happen to find a lot of truth in that in big cities, even over here.
well, actually, I love New York.
Mm.
I absolutely love New York. Now, I'm a very much a country person. I love the
Hmm.
outdoors. I do like the city breaks. Now, to be fair to London, it is a beautiful city. It's worth visiting, and I did enjoy it there. But um, New
It's a
York, I found
lot.
like, but the thing with New York is I found I could breathe. You've got proper sized pavements. We're not trying to walk on literally like a little 1 meter square slab of pavement. You've got like half a foot, or you've got like about 4 or 5 foot where you can actually get three people to walk down the side of the road, and you
Mm.
still got space to move around them. So there is space there, and I love all the characters. I do love seeing all the different characters, but it just felt freer. It felt lighter. But no, we did a week in London. Then we went. No, then we came here to Evesham because I wanted to just touch base with around here, and we did a couple of days here. Then we went down to Cornwall, and we ended up doing. I've got friends of mine that live in Red Roof, so we stayed with them, and then we did a bit of travelling all down South Cornwall by the Lizard, Penzance and Ives, and went all round there, and then we came back up here to Worcestershire, where we were going to be here originally. I think we were going to be here for a week. That's turned into about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes it happens that
And
way.
it does. And we're going to stay here for another week, and then we're going away again. We're going to, funny enough, go to London. Going to have a week down there again, and then we're going to come back here because I've got an event. There's a local medieval festival, and it's like one of the biggest in the country. And I've got a stall here at the Battle of Evesham Medieval Festival in August. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to make our way up towards Scotland.
Ah, so what's in Scotland, do you think?
Oh, I'm definitely going to Inverness again. I actually was in Inverness this time last year, and a friend of mine, I said I'd take her to Inverness and to go and see Loch Ness for definite. We're going to go to Edinburgh. I want to try and get to Aberdeen, Isle of Skye. I want to try and get to an Isle of Arran as well. And actually, I've always wanted to go to the Shetland Islands, and it's one of
Ah,
those
yes.
where I'm thinking if we're up there, might see if we can try and find a way of getting to the Shetland Islands as well, which would be really, really cool.
Absolutely. Why not? Exactly like you said, because you're going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Perfect.
just like wandering around and seeing what we find.
Do you have plans to get out of that area and go like to other countries?
Yes, after that, I'm hoping, or the plan is, probably around about end of September to end of October, between that period, hop into Thailand.
Oh, you're going to Thailand.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
kind of plan that we've got. Is then go
That's
to
so
Thailand for a couple of
interesting.
months.
That is so
And
interesting because that's on my list too. So yeah.
well, Thai food, to be honest with you, is one of my favorite cuisines. I mean, you find a really good Thai restaurant. Oh my God, their food is amazing.
I happen to agree with you, friends. I do. I happen to agree with you. I also am a I not only do I enjoy, other cultures' foods, I just enjoy
Mm,
the culture of other cultures. I
yes,
love getting lost in it and just being that total spectator of just watching, and
exactly.
seeing how people do things. And, I don't know about you. From my perspective, I find that the more I travel, the more people are very similar.
They are. They are. And that
You
is
know,
totally the truth.
One of the things I hear all the time is, "Well, don't go over there because, they don't like da 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 da, and those people are yada yada yada." And then I get there and I'm like, "They're saying the same thing about you guys, honey." You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you've probably figured that out too. But that's always
Totally.
so funny to me as I just listen to people when they tell me that, and in my head I'm thinking, "That's what everybody says. I
That's exactly
understand."
where I'm going. As soon as I hear something like that, I'm like, "Well, that's where I'm next going to go then." Because
Exactly.
I'm pretty
Exactly.
certain it's not how they're describing it, and it's actually probably better than they're describing it. So yeah,
I know, that's the thing is it's so interesting because everybody's so quick to be like, "No, no, no," and I'm like,
exactly,
I hear
exactly.
that everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go on this planet. Everybody says the same thing. It's so funny to me. I love that aspect of it. Uh,
I do as well.
all right, so then what's to come for you then, Mr. Minty? What is on the horizon? What do you know at this stage that is on the horizon is a better way to say that.
Um, I don't. I honestly don't. I honestly don't. I will always do my readings. I love doing my readings. I love doing my spiritual work. Um, and like I say, I mean, I've been doing my spiritual work now for just over 33 years. I've
Mm,
been working as a professional medium
mhm.
from my grandmother, who I've mentioned a few times, but I think it's
Yeah,
only important to mention her. My
go ahead.
grandmother was an amazing medium and witch, and I mean witch in the literal sense. She genuinely was a witch, um, and an amazing medium. And she taught me to do what I do from the age of 5. And then when I was 13, I started working alongside her at psychic fairs, and I'd have my own little table. And like I said, I'm 46 years old and I'm still doing readings and I'm still helping people. So that's how I got into it.
How beautiful is that?
Mm, very much so. Very, very much so.
Wow. I just kind of want to breathe into that for a second because
Mm.
how I I find that to be a very fortunate thing.
I was extremely lucky to have a grandmother like I did.
Yeah, that is
And
just
my
so cool and so amazing. Wow.
and my grandmother was very much like my mother, in all fairness.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, for her to have the patience of a saint, getting me to ground and meditate, and then teaching me all the various different tools that I use. But I think the thing, I mean, what's for me in the future? What's coming up? I don't know, and I'm okay
I
with
love
that.
that.
And I wake up every morning, and it's like I know I've got some clients that I will see, but then there's also, where do I want to go today? Do I
What's the
want
day
to
going to
go out
bring?
in, what's the day going to bring? Do I want to go out into the world and see people, or do I just want to chill at my tent, or am I going to do a live on TikTok, or, am I going to end up meeting someone random and having that great conversation and connection with, like now, what experiences? And it's one of those where it's like I literally will wake up and, like I say, yeah, some days I've got my clients booked in that I'm going to see, which I always love seeing them. Um, and then other days it's like, let's jump on a train and go out somewhere for the day.
I love that. I love it. Good for you. Oh, I just love it so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh
Thank you.
my gosh, that's so cool. Um, I had a question and then of course my
Mm,
mind went a little, I don't know. I think the question it'll come back to me if it's meant to be.
hmm
Um, what is if you were to give anybody any type of spiritual or even
hmm
just advice, what would
hmm
be some of the one to three things, one to
mm.
three things that you would give them?
Something I always got told was, and this is more kind of work related, do something you enjoy and you'll never work a day.
Mm.
Do something you love and you'll never work.
I preach that all the time. Oh my gosh,
And
kindred
it's
spirits.
so true. It's so
Hmm.
true. And I've done some variations of different jobs that I have enjoyed. But then I've
Hmm.
also been one of those at the moment I don't enjoy it. I leave and I find something else. That's just who I've always been. What else? Treasure moments with friends and loved ones. You've got to treasure those moments with friends and loved ones. I am a big believer now. A lot of employers are going to hate me. I've actually got a friend of mine. He runs his own business and he swears blind he would never employ me because he just knows I'm one of those
He knows too much.
night. He knows I'm one of those nightmare employees where it's like, if you get sick pay, well, in my head, that's like an extra few weeks holiday. But you got to play it sensibly. You got to do it carefully. Don't be afraid to take a day off work and do
Mm,
something fun. Don't
mm.
be afraid to go, you might have a load of friends going to a gig or going out to the coast for the day and they ask you to go and you're like, oh no, I can't because I've got to go to work. Take the day off. Go and spend the time with friends because you won't get that day back. And I'm not being funny, when you are on your transition bed, your work's not going to care about you. And you're not going to be caring about that, but you're going to treasure every single moment and thoughts and connections that you've made with people along the way.
I
And
call
that's
those
so
mental
important.
reset days.
Yeah, very much so. Very
That's
much
what I
so.
call them. I used to do that when I still had the 9 to 5, right? And
hmm
that's what I would call it, was a mental reset day. I'm just gonna go outside and be a kid and go play with my friends in the
Exactly.
adult way, you know,
Yeah,
just differently. And
exactly.
sometimes we do end up on a swing set, so there's that too, right? Um,
Why not? Why
but
not?
it's a mental reset that I
Exactly.
feel we need so much. Oh my gosh. All right. Yes. Do you have any more? All these
And
pearls of wisdom that I'm
I would
resonating
also
so much.
say never judge other people.
Mm,
Don't look at someone and judge them. We are all guilty to a degree of it. We're human. It's what we do. But I've also got this firm belief or this thing that I like to do. And I don't do it all the time, but I try to do it as often as I can. If I'm walking down the street, smile at someone, say hello to them. You don't know how much of a difference that's going to make to them on their day. Or if you're seeing someone who's wearing an amazing pair of trousers, go up and say, I absolutely love your trousers. Or I love your hairdo, dude. You know, that's something I did notice when I was in the States. I've got these amazing colourful trousers, or I'd have my dreads and I got me a bit of a Viking look, and I'd get people coming out and going, I love your look, mate. I love your style. And it'd be like, dude, yours is awesome too, you know. And people are more friendly and open saying that. Over here in the UK, it's a bit more reserved, but smile, say hello to someone, acknowledge someone. It is so powerful and important. There's a, I mean, I'm going back probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I don't know when it was. But this one day, I decided that I woke up this one morning and I decided that every single person that I was going to walk past on my way into town, I was going to smile and say good morning to them. And, people were looking at me as I got two heads at first, but then all of a sudden I'd see them smile or they would acknowledge and they'd be like, and you can see their
mm-hmm,
energy raise. There's this
mm-hmm,
lovely little lady. I'm walking past along the river and there's this little old lady. She's got 3 or 4 bags of shopping with her. And I turned around to her and I went, good morning. And I just smiled. And she literally just stopped dead and went, pardon? And I said, good morning. And I smiled and she went, you're the first person in 3 weeks to acknowledge that I exist. And she nearly cried. Well, she was welling up. She goes, I was like, I'm sorry. She goes, I, for 3 weeks, have not had one person say hello to me, good morning, acknowledge me. She goes, I go shopping and I try to talk to the girl behind the counter, asking how their day are. They just ignore me or hurry me along. She said, it's just me on my own. And I've been on my own. I think she's been on her own for like 3 years. I mean, this lady was like late 70s, early 80s, lovely little old lady. And I went, I am really sorry to hear that. And I ended up spending about 10, 15 minutes having a conversation with her. And she was telling me about her husband, how he passed, how she's on her own, and all the rest of it. And I went, where are you walking to? And she goes, I'm walking home. She said, but I'm struggling with my shopping. I said, well, look, I said, I know you don't know me, but I'm happy to carry the shopping bags for you. And she went, you sure? And I went, yeah. She said, well, I'm only up the road.
Why
And I said, I
not?
can carry your shopping bag.
Yeah, why
So
not?
I've got her bags and we're walking up the road and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't walk very fast. I said, well, it is a damn shame you can't be quicker, isn't it? You know, we're having this banter and
Aw,
this laugh. No, we're having this banter and this
yeah,
laugh. But
yeah.
she was lovely. And she turned
Mm.
around and said to me, I mean, I dropped her shopping off and she just turned around and said, thank you so much. You have gave me trust in humanity once more and you have made my day. Now, I saw her every time saw her, I would always say hello. I'd always stop and have a conversation with her. And she goes, since your day of saying hello to me, I have felt 100 times better every single day. She said, your hello made me smile. You know what? I would hate, I think that's my biggest fear, loneliness. I don't care about anything else, but loneliness, to not be seen, to not be acknowledged, to not be heard,
Hmm.
that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. And if we all just said hello to each other a little more often, the world would be a lot better place. And it's a simple acknowledgement.
Thank you for your vulnerability, and I'll give you, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for your vulnerability. I get that. I understand it.
Mm.
I really do. Um, I'm kind of feeling into some feels right now because that resonated. Number one, that story resonated with me so much and got me all up in my feels. I cry a lot anyway.
Nothing wrong
I
with
do.
crying.
I have a saying, I cry a lot, but I'm still pretty cool in my head anyway.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with crying at all.
It's just because I feel the feels and I allow them to express themselves however
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, um, I get it. I think I spent so much time being unseen
Hmm.
and being lonely
Yeah.
that that is not one of my fears anymore because
No, definitely.
I've had to, I finally got to a point where I could be like, oh, that's part of my trauma. That's part of my, my own gunk that I had to work through and get through, you know. So yeah, so what I'm saying is I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
I
No, and
do.
I do.
I
I
get
must
it.
admit, there have been times in my early childhood that I certainly understood that. And I'd hate for
Yeah.
anyone to go through that. But,
Yeah.
just
It is what it
smile
is.
and say hello.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I find it so fascinating that all those beautiful pearls that you just gave of wisdom, I feel like I already embody that. And those are things that I tell people all the time.
Yeah,
What is a smile going to cost you or a hug? What is some
exactly.
kindness or friendliness going to cost you? A moment
Exactly.
of your time. You
Exactly.
got a moment. We all have a moment. Yes, we're all busy. Yes, we all have things to do, but we're never too busy, in my opinion. Let me state that differently. In my opinion, nobody should ever be too busy to not acknowledge another one. Another,
Exactly.
just another. So I feel that. So, Minty, where can people find you? How do they
So
get in
you,
touch with you and how do they find you? And because I just have a feeling people are really going to want to, like, I want to know more. So, like, and by the way, will you come back and do this again with me?
I would love to come back and do this again.
Good,
It would be
good, good, good.
amazing. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
You
because
can find me
I
on
want to know.
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Minty's Tarot and Mediumship Readings. I'm on
Minty's
Instagram as
Tarot and
well.
me.
I think it's Minty Mae Medium. I think I can never remember what my own
You'll send me
titles
a
of my
link and
pages.
it will
I'll send
be
you a link.
posted in the description. Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
also, you can find me on TikTok as well
All the
as Minty
social
May Psychic
medias.
Medium. Yeah, I'm on all the social medias. I do a lot of my lives on TikTok, but people can find me on my Facebook page is where I do a lot. Well, I post all my adverts on my Facebook and Instagram as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Any parting words?
Choose to be happy.
Say that again.
Choose to be happy.
Choose to be happy. Mm,
We can
that's a
choose
good
to be
one.
angry. You can also choose to be happy as well.
It is a choice.
It's not always easy.
No.
And don't get me wrong, there are times I'm hopping up and down like an angry little nugget. And I then have to take a long, hard look at myself and go, why am I wasting my energy on being angry? Let's choose
Um,
to be happy.
that's a good one. Minty, I want to thank you so much for being here and spending some time with us today and letting me ask all these crazy questions and sharing your amazing story. Thank you
Thank you so
so
much. And I
much for
am,
sharing this story.
well, I'm truly grateful that you've asked me to do this. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. All of Minty's information is going to be linked down below. As always, you know this. And Deanna usually does the closing. As you guys know, I always fumble my way through this, so bear with me. But the one thing I was going to say is please subscribe. It's one of the free things that you can do to help get the word out that we're trying to do here. So please subscribe. And then I know Deanna also says, so I want to say this again. If you know somebody who would like to be on this podcast or somebody who you feel should be, then email us, let us know, get in touch, and we would love to take that into consideration. So thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Minty, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, you
Thank you.
beautiful soul. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.